But put your hand up if you think you know what TBL is all about. Okay. So yeah, as Rick said at Stevens Pass, so I work up at Stevens Pass. For those of you that don't know, I'm the director of the Ski and Snowboard School in the rental shop up there at Stevens. I've been there for 4 winters. This will be my 5th. I'm originally from Wales in the UK. So then actually, the WA is actually Wales, not Washington. No, so I started in the ski industry 12 years ago in New Zealand. Went to California and worked at PSIA-AAASI. I was there for 8 years. And we used a form of TBL at PSIA-AAASI. So I'm going to basically talk through my goal for today. It's not just a talk, but to define TBL, what it is, and the why behind it. Because there's a lot that goes into what this concept is all about. We're actually we're gonna get to do an activity, so we're gonna have some fun as well. We're actually going to explore TBL firsthand. So we kind of feel like this every year, right? So the first thing to say about TBL is just to lay everything out on the table here. Wow, look at this line. Using terrain. So using terrain as part of teaching a lesson, that's not a product, that's not a new idea, it's just a tool, right? Whenever we use terrain, if there happens to be a little bank on the side of the run, hey, turn up this, kids, and it gets them to it gets the kids to go up and shoot back across. We just use that as a tool in our lessons. We've done that ever since there was snow and we started teaching. Well, we didn't. When instruction in skiing started, people have always used terrain. TBL, well, TBL, it is a program. TBL itself is a trademark, but again, it's not a new idea, and it's just a tool. So I'm going to set the stage a little bit here and talk about some of the things that are going on within the ski industry, the ski and snow sports industry as a whole, beyond just our world, because that kind of helps set the stage for where TBL came from as a trademark or as a brand, and what it really represents and is aiming to do. So, how many dots do you think are up on the screen? 100. Who said 100? 100. Prize for you. If I had one. No, I don't have prize. I'm sorry. There's 100 dots on the screen. So, conversion rate. Conversion rate is something which we talk about a lot in the industry. There's different ways that we define it, but generally speaking, nationwide, there is a metric for conversion rate across the whole snow sports industry in the US. For every 100 people, how many people do you think return and become a skier or a snowboarder? 18? That's rounding up. So it's 17 and a half, right? So really close. So, yeah. But I like how you're looking on the bright side. So 17 and a half nationwide, 17%. So out of every 100 people, 17 people stick with skiing or snowboarding. The other 83, they drop it. So it's a pretty powerful visual when you look at that. Kind of looks like a learning area at most mountains with that many people crammed together. What do you think it was 4 or 5 years ago? Anyone want to guess? 11. It was 15. So it hasn't really moved, right? It's basically the same number. Is it a good number? No. It's pretty low, right? So, and that's nationwide. That's not Pacific Northwest. That's across the whole of America. The other thing that we're noticing, and this is something that we've actually measured at Stevens over the last few years, is when you look at the motivations about why people choose to come to, or they choose to try skiing or riding, right? And you can kind of put them into 2 different categories. One is a category of, I just want to try it. I really have no concept about what it's all about. I just want to give it a try. And the other category is, I've come to actually learn it. I have a motivation to learn it when I show up for the first time. right? And a lot of times that comes from knowing people, friends or family that ski and ride, and so I'm learning it. I want to learn it because I want to socialize with them in that environment, versus I've just come up and I'm just going to try it. This is data from Stevens Pass from 2014. How many, and again, this is percentages, so the 100, out of 100 people, that's how many would say, I'm here to learn. That's how many would say, I'm just here for a fun experience or to try it out. Fast forward to last season, and that's what it looks like. So what's happening, and this is nationwide, is that more and more people are coming to our mountains to try skiing or snowboarding without necessarily having any prior motivation or desire to learn it and stick with it. They just want to try it out. And the number of people that are coming with a specific learn-to mentality is declining in relation. So what does this mean? Well, I want to take a look at 4 different activities, and what I want you to do is within a little circle, wherever you're sitting, of about 4 or 5 of you, turn and talk about what these different activities all have in common. So here they are. So just spend 2 minutes just talking about what those 4 things have in common. So just for clarification, we have bowling, we have whitewater rafting, we have skydiving, and then we have hiking in the bottom right. Okay, what do those 4 activities have in common? 2 minutes.
They're all out, all except for the bowling are outside.
Oh, yeah. Just like
I thought, what do these 4 activities have in common?
Terrain,
Terrain?
or lack thereof.
In the sense that they don't rely on it or need it? Or in the sense that it's nothing to do with TBL?
No, there's terrain in the rapids going down, there's flat terrain in the bowling, and there's lots of terrain in the hiking, and there's zero terrain or anti-terrain.
Or terrain coming at you very fast. Okay, terrain, it's fun. Yeah, they're all fun. They're all fun activities. Anyone else? You leave your house. You leave your house? Yeah, outdoor activities. That's good. Oh, no, they're not. Actually, I've seen outdoor bowling. It exists. You do leave your house, yes. Okay. They can be group activities. Someone had to take the picture of the hiker, right? So there you go. What's that? Non-Olympic sports. Non-Olympic sports. Okay. Non-Olympic sports. Rewarding. They're rewarding. So what about this? To some degree, these are all activities that compete with skiing or snowboarding. Would you agree? They're all things that people choose to spend their time on when they could be choosing to spend their time skiing or snowboarding. Okay. Which of those could you not do while skiing and snowboarding is going on?
Oh, Meadows is open until May.
Maybe you can't raft during the middle of the winter. How about this? How about this? They're all activities that could be called trial activities. Things that people maybe not necessarily done until they're in their adult lives. Like, yeah, let's go. I'll go try skydiving. I'll go try whitewater rafting. Perhaps the most compelling, though, is that for each of these activities, you could take this picture on day 1. Right? So when you think about what my expectation is if I go bowling, I'm going to bowl a strike. Could you do that on day 1? Whitewater rafting. My expectation is I'm going to go down a boat with a bunch of people. I'm going to be a little bit scared, and water's going to splash up everywhere. I'm going to get that picture. Would you agree? Skydiving, I'm going to jump out of a plane. And hiking, I'm going to make it to the top of the mountain and have an awesome epiphany on top of a rock. Right? Now, let's think about skiing in that same context, skiing and snowboarding. Here's a similar picture. This is my thing. Okay, I'm going to go skiing and snowboarding. This is the expectation that I have. Is this day 1? What does day 1 look like? Put your hand up if that is not your ski area. So right off the bat, the experience and the expectation are not aligned. And so when we look at an increase in trial versus a learn-to mindset, a trial mindset has those pictures in mind that we just went through. And the experience doesn't match that. A learn-to mindset, they might come in and understand, okay, there's some hurdles I gotta pass. I've gotta go through some hardship before I accomplish something. But we just saw that the amount of people that are coming with a learn-to mindset is decreasing. The number of people that are coming with a trial mindset is increasing. So our beginners are changing. There's other ways that they're changing too. Here's another 4 images. The same thing. We're going to look at the 4 images, turn and talk, same groups. What do these 4 images represent? Here they are. Turn and talk.
Social media. Degradation of actual three examples are the largest technology companies in the world. Google, Facebook, and Amazon.
Right. Totally opposite to the other 4, right? Very sedentary activities.
Brands we recognize without actually having their names there.
Yeah, true. Very recognizable brands, instantly recognizable.
Things that represent fast and more immediate response.
Things that represent fast and more immediate response. I like that one.
Super user-friendly, easy.
User-friendly,
Instant gratification.
instant gratification. We live in a culture of immediate feedback and instant gratification, right? I mean, we use these things all the time. We expect it right now. You know, I'm frustrated when Prime says it's going to take 2 days and it's not going to be here tomorrow. I don't think I should have ordered it 3 days ago. I think why is the logistical network of the United States letting me down and not getting me my package the next day, right? So we live in this culture. So, as I said, our beginners are changing. What's happening is there's an increasing need for immediate feedback and successes and gratification. Society's going that way. It's not millennials, it's not Gen Z, it's everyone. We are moving into more of a world where there's this need for immediate feedback and gratification. Last one. Same thing, turn and talk. What do you think about when you see these? I did a presentation a couple of days ago to a group that had just drank a lot of beer. I can say I'm very pleased that you guys are a lot more organized and well behaved than they are. Than they were. Yeah, for now, exactly. So what do you think? What do you think about when you see these images, or what's again something that links these images? Any thoughts? This is a tougher one. They're all brands.
Social.
Global impact. You said global impact. Global impact. Yeah. Social conscience. Yeah. They all bring an emotional connection with the people that really resonate with these brands, right? I mean, Patagonia is a clothing company, but they're known for their values and how they care for the environment and where their clothes come from. You know, Apple they're all about innovation and inspiration. They may not actually have the most functional, best products, but people buy Apple because of what Apple means and what the sense of meaning that they derive from that. The Chill program. You know, we have a lot of instructors that they want to teach Chill because of what it means and what it represents to them. And Tom's is a shoe company that for every shoe that gets purchased, they give a shoe to a child in need. So again, there's an emotional connection to that. And and our beginners are changing. We live in a world now where there's an increased desire for an emotional connection to the products and the services where we choose to spend our money and where we choose to work. And skiing or snowboarding falls into that category, right? It's an activity, it's a product that we choose to invest in. So we want to have an emotional connection to that. So with those things in mind, where you think about, okay, we're saying that the beginners are changing. If money were no object, what would you do for beginners at your ski area? Bill?
Your rental shop would be a one-to-one personal valet to get people through. So you probably have about close to 100 rental shop employees. It'd be a one-to-one interaction to get that person through. Let me grab your boots. Let me, take care of you.
Let me care for you all through the process.
All through the process. So we'll get your lift ticket done. We'll get you a lessons. We'll get somebody out there to escort you. If you're 5 minutes late, we got another lesson going on the 05. We got one going on at 10 after. Don't worry about it.
Nice.
And probably have a beginner.
Totally accommodate their needs.
Probably even a separate, offer separate beginner area, separate parking, separate.
Not everything. They'll give all the answers.
Well, who would change their beginner hill? I bet you guys have a lot of ideas about how you can change your beginner hill, right? All right, should we do it? We're going to do it. Here's how we're going to do it. We're going to break into 4 groups, and they need to be roughly even, which is going to be almost impossible. But let's just say that we got row 1, row 2, row 3, and we'll go row 4. You guys are all one group. Then we got the remaining people seated and the people stood behind them. And then we'll go the first 3 rows. Should we say, yeah, let's do the first 3 rows over here. First 3 rows here, plus the standers. And then everybody seated right here. Okay? So the first thing we need to do is you need to get up in your groups and go to one of the corners of the room. Okay, so go to the closest corner to you. You have a beginner who's mastered flat terrain. You get the ideal learning slope for them. So imagine this is your giant ski hill.
7 degrees.
Okay, Natalie, you go there.
It needs to be 7 degrees.
Keep going. Keep going.
This is our beginner slope. We have
Keep it flat.
Need some jackets or something. I like how you got it on that.
We need some banks and some half pipe.
Oh, we're going to sculpt it by using some
Rollers? Should we add some rollers?
Everybody that have a hand on it somewhere.
Everyone.
It's got to be 7 degrees.
Can we get a little S going?
Flatter.
I want to zone it goes down here just to like use gravity to really.
We want everyone funneled into the center.
We have another.
Hill right here. Here's our beginner student. Are you ready? Here you go.
That's control.
Very good.
They almost hit the parking lot.
Hold it exactly as it is. Don't move it. Don't move it. If he goes off, he goes off. I didn't get that message until it was too late. Because you can't move it. Don't move it. See what happens to you guys go lower.
Go lower. That's okay. That's where we want him to stop there, though.
So nice work. You guys thought about the direction and you thought about the speed, and you tried to figure out a way to control it through the terrain. So here's what we're going to do next. Now I'm going to set you a challenge, a downhill challenge, but it's a slow downhill challenge. So what you need to do is you need to create a ski slope where your beginner is going to continuously move and see who can take the longest to get their beginner from the top to the bottom. Does that make sense? Now once the beginner starts, you can't move the fabric. Technology has not gotten to that point yet. Okay? So just set it up, and then we'll come and time you.
Too high. We're too high down at that end.
Lower at the top.
Yeah, it's high, too high.
Let's go down on top. We're too fast up here. Lower yours down.
No, it still has to be. There's no.
Think a little bit.
There you go.
It's right there.
All right, we're going to come around and time. So, no moving the fabric.
Come on, baby. Here she goes. Oh.
Nicely. Oh, a little bit backward skiing. Very good. 17.5 seconds.
Okay.
Gentle drop, gently.
3, 2, 1, drop.
Come on, baby. Come on, baby. No, don't touch it. Because we were just doing what we did.
17 seconds. And the mountain's opening.
Come on, send a new first timer. Oh, God, that was close. Oh, what is going on? That's an instructor.
Here we go. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Yes, you can. You can do it.
Don't move it. Don't change it.
Oh, God, come on, you got it, buddy.
8.5 seconds.
Oh, boo, he was still moving.
It's okay, team. You did great.
Lower.
Where's the fall line?
Why not?
Oh, my Johnny.
Yeah. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it.
Fire the greeners.
You can do it.
Here we go.
2 minutes.
Is that fun? Yeah. It's pretty cool. I think we might have to take the fabric and the balls to Mission Ridge so we can do that in the bar.
Oh, boy.
It's pretty cool, huh? It's amazing how much little detail and intricacy has to go into it. And once you set it on the snow, you can't do anything about it. So yeah, so we are hiring snowcat operators. So if anyone really enjoyed that, there you can do that. You can do that for real. So there's these two things, right? There's terrain features, and then there's a TBL program, and it's important to understand that these are two different things. Connected, but they are two different things. A terrain feature can be used to control speed and direction. We all discovered that. Whether we want to slow someone down, speed them up, turn them left, turn them right, throw them up in the air. We have terrain features all over the mountain. We have terrain parks. We have terrain in a learning area. We have natural terrain. We have Squirrel Trail, Stevens Pass, little trail through the trees. That's all terrain that controls speed and direction in some way. A TBL program uses progressively challenging terrain features to enhance the beginner experience. So a TBL program just uses a bunch of terrain features in a very specific way, in a progressive way. So why is it such a hot topic? Why is TBL something that's talked about so much within our industry? Well, this is where we have to look at what's happening in our marketplace, what's happening with our beginners, and what does TBL or what do terrain features allow us to do? So let's go back to these three things. Get more dots. So the new beginner, there's an increase in trial versus learn to mindset. There's an increased need for immediate feedback and gratification, and there is an increased desire for an emotional connection with the experience. So when you look at these three things, and then you say, okay, well, you can all wrap that up in, this is a great experience that is worth sharing. And in today's world, those last two words are very important. Because we live in a world where people do things so then they can go and share them with other people, right? People will drive over Stevens Pass, and it's a beautiful day, like Bluebird Day. Mountain looks gorgeous, phenomenal. They'll stop at the top, get out of their car on the side of the highway. They won't even pull into the parking lot. They'll just stop on the side of the highway, take a picture with the mountain behind them, get back in their car, and drive off. Right? That happens. They don't even come into the resort. They don't even, all they want is that photo. Hey, I was at the top of Stevens Pass, look at me with the snow. A great experience is one that's worth sharing. How do we become worthy enough of being someone's profile picture? It's an interesting thought to ponder. So let's look at those three things and let's look at what terrain can help with. So a trial over a learn to mindset. This connects with something that for a couple of the groups that came into the experience session earlier today, we talked about this. And if you weren't in that, you'll experience that tomorrow. But terrain gives us, or terrain features can give us a safe environment to play or session in, give us more slide time, and that equals more value for the customer. You did things with your terrain so that you could keep your ball gliding and rolling for longer, so that that ball could get more slide time in that same vertical distance. The more, we all know the more slide time they have, the more practice time they're getting, and the more fun they're gonna have, right? So a safe environment that a terrain feature can provide allows us to do that. It allows us to play first, play sooner. And that's really important with that trial versus that learn to mindset, because when you're trying something, you need to be hooked on it right away. Otherwise you're just gonna say, oh, well, that wasn't that good, or I'll do something else next week. I'll go bowling next week instead. I'll go hike to the top of a mountain and stand on a rock. Immediate feedback and gratification. So how can terrain features, how can they help with that? Well, if a feature is there, it can provide a very concise, clear, consistent outcome. You're gonna glide down, you're gonna come to a stop at the bottom. Very clear, very consistent. They can also give us progressive challenge. So what they do is they give us opportunities for frequent small successes that we can celebrate with customers. Because they create, again, these controlled environments where we have control over the speed and the direction of the glider. So we can give them a lot of high fives, we can give them a lot of those shareable moments. We can help them feel it as well as just achieve it. And the third, an emotional connection. So we can draw awareness to sensations. When you can get somebody gliding for a while, or when you can get a feature to manipulate a glider in a certain way, now you can hone in on particular sensations that causes. And as an instructor, you can call them out. Hey, what did you notice? What did you feel in your right leg as you made that turn? Or which ski, did one ski feel heavy, the other ski feel light? Tell me about that. You can start to create these sensations, or well, you don't create them, the terrain creates them, but you call attention to them. And they've also given them time and space to practice. What does this mean? Well, it's giving them ownership. When they have awareness of something that is going on, a result that is happening, if they're aware of it, they can own that. And now they can start to feel like a real skier or rider. That's what we do every day. We go out and we ski and we have ownership over what we're doing. We don't just do it like, oh, I wonder how that happened. We have ownership over it. We have awareness. And the nice thing about this is when you combine this with clear outcomes, now you give students ways that they can actually evaluate. Did it work or did it not? So you might ask yourself, well, what can I do? We don't have a TBL program at my ski area. We don't have these big terrain features. I can't influence the grooming, and I don't I'm an instructor, I'm a trainer, I'm a ski and snowboard school manager. I don't have any influence on that. And I sure as hell don't want to work at night. So how do you do it? Well, the thing is that when you actually look at each of those things in turn, I said the terrain provides a safe environment to play your session. Terrain allows for more slide time. Terrain, that equals more value for the customer. You can just take the word terrain out and put instructor in there. The instructor creates a safe environment to play your session, and the instructor facilitates more slide time. Equals more value for the customer. The instructor gives concise, consistent outcomes. The instructor provides progressive challenge. That leads to frequent small successes that can be celebrated. The instructor draws awareness to sensations. The instructor gives time and space to practice and for learning to happen. So the student gets ownership and they feel like a real scooter rider. So the same concepts that terrain or TBL as a program. Remember, TBL is a series of progressively challenging terrain features. TBL is built on these concepts. It's built on leveraging these concepts. And yes, it does make it easier for instructors to accomplish these things, but you don't need the terrain in order to do it or in order to take this type of approach. And so that's what's important to take away here is that the terrain on its own, it's just terrain, it's just snow. It's all about how you use it. And whether that terrain is shaped like a nice bank to the left or a nice slope that has walls on each side and a catch at the bottom, sure, that's great, that's ideal. We'd all love to have that, but a lot of us don't. Or even if we do have it, sometimes there's hundreds of people on it and kids on a leash and people falling over and we can't use it because it's too crowded. But if we continue to employ these concepts, then we can still deliver the same type of experience even if we don't necessarily have the terrain to use. So here they are again, or here they are in a more concise form. What can you do? You can play sooner. We've been talking about this all day. You can learn play. You can use play to learn about your students. You can agree on outcomes with your students and define those as achievements, not as skills. Not as specific skills, but achievements. Hey, we want to slide to the bottom here and stop without falling over. That's an outcome. We can keep them moving. Keep our students moving as much as possible because they're here to ski or ride. So let's get them skiing or riding as much as we possibly can. Or moving, so they're doing something that's engaging their body as well as their mind. Focus on sensations over information. So don't talk at them, but ask them a question that brings out awareness in a sensation that they're feeling. And if you do have to give them information, keep it short, keep it concise. And celebrate small successes, encourage them to share. How many instructors do you think actually create time in a lesson for the guests to take a photo? Think about that. Yeah? How many times do you say, hey, at the end of the lesson, hey, do you want me to take a photo? If you give me your phone, I'll take a photo of the group. And you'll all have one. How many times do we do that? But that's a big part of why they're there. So I'll just leave it on that slide for a second. I see some people writing down. But hopefully these are concepts that you're hearing. You're not just hearing them here, but we talked about these within the experiences session that we did upstairs. And if you didn't do that, you'll do it tomorrow. But it's the same stuff. So some of you might be thinking, what about the features? You know, I get asked a lot about, hey, so, you know, should I build a mini pipe? Should I do a return wall? The thing is that the features themselves, they don't really matter. There's not a defined, you should have this feature, then this feature, then this feature, because every mountain is different. The topography of every mountain is different. The space at every mountain is different. There are more effective features at delivering certain sensations and certain outcomes, absolutely. And if you could completely start from scratch, yeah, there's probably a more effective way that you could line certain things up. But a lot of us don't have that luxury. And sometimes it's just a case of what's going to work at my mountain? What's going to make the biggest impact? So if you want to go back to your resort and introduce TBL, besides from a concept standpoint, if you actually want to say, okay, I would like to create a TBL program. I would like to have some features in place, and I would like to use that to help progress my beginner students. First, understand that there are no set rules. So there's no one feature that you should have before this one or after this one, and so on and so forth. It's totally dependent on your terrain, your beginners, your mountain. Start small. You're not going to go from having no features to suddenly having the entire mountain on board and building features for you left and right. But there's little things you can do. Can you just create a little catch at the bottom of your slope so that the beginners don't have to stop themselves, but the terrain does it for them? Can you ask the catch, the grooming operators, just to push a small pile of snow to the side that you can hand shovel into a little burn on your kids' carpet? Just these little tiny things that you can start doing to start seeing the use of terrain, and I'm sure that many of you already do this at your mountains. I'm also going to be delivering a very similar session to this tomorrow to the management group or the leadership group that's going to be here, or sorry, it's on Monday. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about these next two pieces, because this may not resonate with everybody here based on your role at the mountain, but this is where trainers and instructors can help, and that is to draw up a plan. Think about this. Think about where features would help and what features would help with your current beginner progressions. And then if you get this far, and if your mountain gets this far, this is one of the most important pieces, and this is cat time. And it's getting people who have the knowledge from a snow sports school standpoint in the cat with the operator when they are building the features. That is absolutely crucial. So when we were building this at Stevens Pass, there's a number of us that would spend time either late at night, early in the morning, staying up all night with the cat operators, understanding their world, learning about their language, learning about their terminology and their challenges and what they can and can't do, so that when we ask for stuff, we can ask in a way that we've already thought about how they're going to implement it, how it's going to affect them. And just building that relationship between the snow sports school and the grooming of the operating department is absolutely critical, because without the operators, you have nothing. They are the most important people there, because if they don't groom it right, it doesn't really matter. So getting that cat time is super, super important. So again, that may not necessarily be you guys in the room, but this, if you're involved in this discussion at your school, that has to be part of it. Is how are we going to build that relationship, and how are we going to, how can we help? How can we show that we're committed, we're willing to do a night shift in order to do this the right way? And seriously, we are hiring snowcat operators. So if you, my dream is to find an instructor who wants to work at night and to be in a snowcat, so we already have somebody with that basic knowledge. But this is a joke, but yeah. And that's it. So that hopefully that provides an overview of what TBL is and how we can use terrain features, some of the concepts behind the idea, and some of the ways that we can incorporate those concepts into our teaching, whether or not the terrain is present. And then if you are somebody that's in a position where you have the ability to push this at your mountain, some pointers and things to start you off. And if you ever need any help or any guidance on this at your mountain, then please, I'm here to help with that. We've kind of been working with this at Stevens now for a while, so there's a number of us that have gotten into this and have learned a thing or two. So reach out. That's what this community and this group is all about, is sharing this stuff so that we can all benefit. So I would just ask one more thing of you. There's some Post-its here on the table at the front. I would love for everybody to just write a takeaway, some feedback, anything you like about this session, and just stick it on the wall. We'll do the wall right there next to Rick. So if you wouldn't mind just coming up, grab a Post-it, fill it out with a thought, a comment, or a takeaway that you particularly liked, and stick it on the wall, and then that's me done.